nominate Mayor Cox.
Accept? No? Accept? Can you hear that?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Are there any further nominations? Third and final time, any further nominations? I turn the chair over to you, Mayor Cox.
Okay, the meeting's called to order. The first item is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda? Okay. No additions to the agenda. Could I have a motion then to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Councillor Long has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. Next item is scheduled delegations. We have the High Prairie and District Golf Club here. And I believe it's Mr. Keshen that is representing them.
You have to push the button there when you talk too.
Sorry?
You have to push the buttons too when you talk.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I've come before you tonight in regards to our meeting that we've had a month and a half ago, I believe, where you were asking assistance on how you can help us. Since that meeting, we've had a water main problem out at the golf course. We've determined that the curb stop needs to be replaced, which comes in from the municipality, or I guess it's the co-op. And what I guess we were asking is, you were asking us on how you can help us. What we're in need of, we need to have a vacuum truck and a hold for half a day to go out there to expose this curb stop so we can get this replaced, to complete some more repairs. We've already repaired one line that ruptured in there, but we can't get it totally closed off. We need to shut the curb stop off, which has failed. And we also need, when we repair this or replace this curb stop, because the co-op has said that it comes into our property, it is now our responsibility. So what we're needing is that vacuum truck with the hose so that we can work on it live to get it changed out so that we can isolate it so we can continue repairs inside the clubhouse.
And you're thinking it's around 5,000? How much are you asking for?
I'm just asking for your services for donated that equipment, like your man hours with your equipment to supply operators to assist us with repairing this line. It's no money, no money, no value, I guess. It's just for equipment plus the man hours to have this job completed.
I think there's an agenda item a little bit later for the 5. That's, yeah 2 items.
So that answers your question?
I was just going to ask our CAO if you felt we have the resources and the manpower to assist in that.
What we would do is, time permitting, I'd work with the golf course if council so wishes, and Public Works Superintendent Vern Walker, and make arrangements as time permits to have the work done.
Because presently, right now, it is shut inside our mechanical room, but it's not totally shut off because the curb stop, works like a butterfly valve. If you know, their 90-degree turn. Well, when we tried to close it with the curb stop, when Terry was there, he'd give us a wrench and it went past that. So that valve has failed and it needs to be replaced so that we can carry on with some repairs inside our mechanical room to supply water. Because right now we have no water in the clubhouse. We do have water in our hot water heating boiler system, but if that ever was to spring a leak or whatever, we can't fill our system. And that's primary heat on our main floor, because it's in slab heat.
Is it leaking now? With
The valve, yeah, we're collecting, it's going into, there's a floor drain in there. It's diverted right into there. It's a slow drip. But the valve, that valve is 30 years old. That clubhouse was built in 1986. And we need the curb stop outside repaired, replaced, so that we can shut it off there, so we can replace that valve as well. And then it'll be all systems go.
Okay, so I have a question, but it's not a reflection on the co-op or you or anything like that. Are not curb stops the supplier of the water's responsibility? So if a curb stop failed in town, wouldn't that be us that would have to repair it? Yes,
Depending on which side of the curb stop that it fails on.
but if the actual curb stop fails,
Yeah. It
Isn't that
depends on
us?
It depends on which side, if it's on the public side or if it's on the private side. If you can shut the curb stop off and the water quits, and we don't do anything on the private side as far as the valves in the houses or the valves. If we can shut it off and the water leaking stops, then it's the private side. If it continues to go, then it's our side.
it's our side.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right, that's just what I was wondering is,
Yeah.
this would be something normally we would be looking after, failure of a curb stop.
Only if it's on the public side of the curb stop.
But if the curb stop doesn't shut off,
Oh,
At
yes,
all.
yes, if it doesn't shut off, yes.
then it's the failure of the curb stop.
Yeah,
Therefore, it would be us.
we would be doing it.
Yeah, okay, that's just what I was wondering there. So, if there's no other questions, come on, yes. We don't make decisions as a
Yeah.
delegation, but we take it under advisement, and then the motion we would make would be direct administration to do such and such, so,
Sure.
okay, all right.
All right,
Well,
thank
thank you for coming and asking.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Greg.
So we can have a motion regarding action.
I wonder if we can bring it up later when it's.
With the rest of would you like to do that? Bring it up with the rest of the grant? Okay, so we'll do that then. All right, are there any other public delegations? Can you step forward? So just push the button on the, and state your names.
Hi, my name is Bruce Cunningham, head coach of the High Prairie Bantam Sunstone Energy Thunder.
Jolene McNabb, chair and manager, I guess, of the team.
We're presented with town council today is the High Prairie Bantam team has been awarded the 2016 Bantam Sea Provincials for High Prairie, and the reason being why we did this is the way the economic times and everything are. Instead of us leaving town, if we were to make provincials, we thought this time it might be a good thing to try host to bring revenue, everything like that back into town, because you would probably see anywhere from 500 to 700 people, and the revenue that generated for the hotels, restaurants, everything would be beneficial to us. So we decided to put an application or a bid in to host, and we succeeded. So I guess what we're saying is now that we succeeded, we were looking to see if there would be any financial support from the town to help us run this tournament. Reason being is we're not trying to make any revenue off it, we're just trying to break even from it. And everything that the spin-off from it, hopefully it'll benefit with the town.
We do have a budget done up, if we can pass out that paper to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any income at all yet?
We would have income, the only income that we would have that we're actually allowed to take from the teams that are attending is called a community fee. So it's a $700 fee from each team, so that's times 7. So that is guaranteed for us to have, so that's $4,900. That would get everyone into the doors. There would be no gate admission fee. So that's what that would cover. From that, we just have stuff that we are hoping to actually get from hosting a banquet. We would hope to break even because we are going to be selling tickets for that. Our programs, we'll be selling those as well. So we're hoping to break even with that. But I mean, everything is estimated at this time.
Okay. Questions? Counselor Bernaka?
I'm still reading.
Counselor Long?
So have you got a dollar figure in mind as to what you think we might be able to assist you with? And don't say $12,025.
Honestly, we don't know what we should be asking for. We don't know what the town would be willing to do. Any help would be great. We like Bruce said, we basically brought this to our community to showcase High Prairie, to bring the revenue into High Prairie as well. So we're not gonna by any means, I don't know if this is on. We're not gonna be bringing, this isn't gonna be a profit to our association whatsoever. We're really hoping that we're not in the negative for it.
Okay.
Okay. Counselor Panassi?
No questions, just one comment. I know when we've had some other groups have come for funding for tournaments and stuff, and what as a council we have said is the businesses in town that benefit would be one to go out and check, and that would be, you know, the hotels and the restaurants would be two prime ones, and we've heard from some of the chamber, and I'm not saying all of them, but they did say, you know, that some of those businesses would be willing to look at helping to fund because they're the primary benefits of it, like, you know, financially. There is a lot of other things of having people come into town, but that would be one place to look for funding because you're short. I mean, the difference here looks to be about $4,200.
Yeah. If all goes well. So, yeah. And yes, we did approach the chamber as well and discussed with them. Yeah.
And is I know with minor hockey, at least before when I was readily involved, there was some hesitation for teams to go to individual businesses, but is that still there? Or is it free when you're, or not free, what's the word? They didn't want to keep every team approaching the businesses separately, so they tried to approach as a unit and do it once, but I'm not sure if you're hosting provincials. I know when we did, we were able to go to the businesses, you know, individually and ask them.
I know with myself being on the minor hockey board, in situations where if they do have an individual tournament, they do stress do not approach any businesses unless you're associated with that business. But in a situation like this, hosting provincials, according to the policies, that it's a little bit different, then it becomes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we do have a meeting with the board for minor hockey next week as well, to kind of iron those little details out.
Counselor Long?
Have you,
You're off.
How do you shut it off?
regardless, have you approached the rec board?
Yes, we have. We actually have talked to the rec board already, and in their policies for the rec board, they do pay for one of the longest days of ice time. So, in a sense, there the rec board does help out with a donation like that in a provincial tournament.
Yeah.
And that is taken out of our budget
Yeah.
already. Yeah. You bet. Yeah.
There you are. Counselor Tanaka, have you
No, all my questions have been answered. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then if no one else has any questions, as I said to the previous delegation, we don't make decisions at the time the delegation is here. It will be put forward as probably an agenda item for the next meeting with a little bit more backup. When is your deadline?
We're hoping middle of February.
No problem, we can meet that.
We also have a request actually from Mayor Linda Cox, is that your presence be at our tournament. I don't know if I book that somewhere else or if I talk to you right now.
Just let me know what date.
It would be the 18th
Of February?
of March.
March,
Yeah.
18th March. I'll
Yeah.
check my calendar and Brian's probably has your contact information.
Okay, yeah. We would also need a letter of support from you, or welcoming the teams.
Would
to
that
our
go
town.
in your program?
Yes, it does.
Oh, okay, so a letter of welcome.
Yes, please.
And a picture.
Yeah,
Council picture?
whatever you would
Yep,
like.
that'll work too.
Some kind of a picture, okay?
Yeah, just welcoming everyone to our town.
Okay. I've made a note of that, and if do you have an email address to get in touch with them? Okay, that's good then.
Okay,
That's what, I'll be back in touch through Brian to confirm the date, or the deputy mayor will be there, one of us.
sounds wonderful.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for coming. So will you put that on the next agenda?
Yep.
Okay. Next agenda. So we won't need a motion then to direct administration, it'll just go on the agenda. All right, so if there are any other public delegations? No other public delegations? So we'll move on to the Protective Services report. And do we have anybody from, oh yes we do, they're sitting over there this time.
So I'll move that we receive the report for information.
Right, all in favor?
Well, yeah,
I guess we
listen
do that?
first. We
Yeah,
listen
listen,
first.
then we'll say all in favor, because I have a motion, okay. See, I forgot. How soon you forget. All right, so, is there any highlights?
The only highlight is, the addition to the agenda is this.
Impressive, and in color.
You can thank Erica for this. She did an exceptional job on this. I couldn't be happier. To go with this, we're gonna send it out in the utility bills this month. So people in the town have this, they can hang it on their fridge or throw darts at it or whatever they wanna do. Along with this, there's the bylaws that we have pamphlets for that coincide with the months.
Oh,
So we're gonna send that out also with the corresponding months, so. And I can thank Erica for that too.
sounds good. I
But
do
other-
have one comment on your January, intersection safety. The people coming from the south of town, because I drive from the north, I don't think anybody knows that they're supposed to, at this intersection here, let me turn. Because they're coming from the south and they turn east. And they're supposed to wait until I cross the intersection and turn.
That, we will try to address that. We'll stand there. Actually,
And
there
give them
was,
tickets and they will hate me.
there was, supposed to be a public delegation tonight, but, apparently he didn't, make it and couldn't show it. But he's with the Traffic Safety Board out of Grand Prairie. He's on our, party program committee, and he wanted to attend tonight and talk to council about setting up a traffic safety committee for the town, to address exactly that, to address pedestrians, intersections, and other traffic issues that we might have.
Will he come to the 26th, January 26th, or?
We can talk to him. If not, he might even send a letter of request for one or two members of the council to sit on this committee.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Councillor Danak, I appreciate the fact you brought that forward, the idea of doing a little bit more of interactive policing.
Yes.
So,
I'm really impressed with this. Like when I saw this, I just, now that's proactive. That makes me happy.
So yeah, that'll be going out in this month's utility bill, and that's the middle of the month. So other than that, it's fairly business as usual.
business as usual.
Actually, yeah. Put it as.
That's true. Councillor Long.
So when it comes to January being traffic safety and intersection safety, does that include trucks and vehicles parking in no parking zones? Or there's yellow? Yeah.
It'll include that too. Obviously with the season being the winter, the snow covers part of it sometimes. We will address it either.
It's a touchy subject, I know, in town, but you see it all the time. You see people trying to cross from Super A over to Fields or vice versa, and there's trucks parked all along with no repercussions or anything. They've been doing it for years, right? So
yes.
It's just something that keeps being brought up from the public every now and then, and yeah, just I bring that up.
Yeah, that'll be part of the month safety.
Anything else? Councillor Panasic?
I love the idea also, so I think it's great and it looks good, so I want to say that. And just had one question about, we have the seat belts down, which is more of a provincial statute versus a bylaw. And I know that there's a lot of promotion about safeties that goes on without the town doing that, and was wondering, is there any other bylaws perhaps that we should be promoting or marketing versus a provincial law which gets a lot of attention without us giving it to them? Not that it's not important, but is there something that we're not hitting that maybe we should be mentioning in that time as a bylaw?
I believe we covered all the bylaws that we have, or regulatory bylaws. We included, we included that in the speeding, just for the fact that those are the months that the provincial have it designated for.
Oh, okay.
And I understand what you're saying too. But I think we more or less
You've exhausted
addressed
the
it.
oh, no, I was just
Yeah.
wondering if there was something else, and I couldn't think of anything.
Yeah.
But I thought I would throw it out there to see if there was something that we usually have problems with, and we could promote our bylaws versus a provincial law that I know gets lots of attention.
Yeah, it's understandable. We can address that maybe next year if things need to be addressed for that, like what you're mentioning there. But yeah, I think we had more or less exhausted all the bylaws that we.
And the garbage bylaw falls under the unsightly?
Yes.
Okay.
And the pamphlets that go with the month have more than just grass cutting. Yeah, they'll include garbage collection and unsightly properties and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to highlight from your report?
All right. No, we're, unless
Okay.
you have any more questions.
Are we back to enforcing the bylaws in Falera, McLennan, and Donnelly now? Are we back on shift?
Yes, we are, yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to just ask a question about that. I know we had sent those communities a letter saying that we would not be doing that enforcement in the upcoming year. And I'm just wondering if we've received anything or entered into another agreement, because I know at another meeting I was talking with the mayors and they were figuring it was finished, complete. And I said, you know what, we now have a second peace officer, so I'm sure our town would be interested in continuing that agreement, but we need to go into anything. So we need to re-look at that, or I don't know if we've received anything. Brian, have we received anything?
We've been talking, Alan and myself, regarding that, and I think what it come down to is we requested the municipalities to the west to possibly send us a letter with what they think would be a increase in fees for services from these guys. And so I did receive a letter, but it was pretty generic from Mayor of Falera, I think it was.
I think I informed them that we were waiting for budget deliberations. I could be speaking out of turn there, but that's what I thought. We'd maybe
Yeah.
wait till budget, finalizing that, and then if there is questions, then we can answer at that time, I guess. But
It'll be settled within the next 6 weeks as to what we're doing. So continue on, I would say, until then.
yeah, we more or less said it would be business as usual
We
until.
don't have a contractor. Are we going out there without a contract right now? Because I thought our contract had ended at
It ended December.
January 1st.
Yeah.
Or,
Oh,
We can do a one-page extension till budget's finalized.
well, we would, yeah, that would be a motion for an extension. So after your report, I guess we'll decide whether we'll make that motion or not.
Okay.
All right, so anything else on that report? Cats aren't a problem, or we're just not hearing any more about it?
The calls and complaints we get, we just indicate that we have live cat traps,
Okay,
and if they do trap them, that it's their responsibility to call animal rescue, and they will take them.
right, okay. In the Woods is working well still? Good.
Yep.
All right then. I guess that's it for protective services. We're satisfied with everyone? We're ecstatic over the chart. So we'll see how that works for communicating with our residents, which I think is a good idea. All right. So we have a motion then to accept the report. All in favor? It's passed. So now the second item, yes.
Should we make a motion to
Oh,
extend?
the extended, how short the memory is. Would you like to make that motion?
Make a motion that we extend our service contract with Falera, McLennan, and Donnelly until
6 weeks? Should we give a deadline? Mr. Martinson? That could be May. When's the final budget?
it's up to us.
I don't do the legwork, you guys do the voting on it.
Okay, so what would be a reasonable time frame?
I would probably think because we could probably have a decision regarding the protective services with the groups beforehand. So I would say if you extend the contract for 60 days to our other worst thing.
I would leave it until we do our final budget, and that way it's covered, right? If it's 6 weeks or it's 2 months, it won't matter. Just say until the final budget is done.
That might be better. new counselors, and they take a lot of speed, depending on.
Okay.
Budget as well.
Final budget is approved.
Until the final budget's approved.
The 2016 final budget is approved.
Yes.
We'll identify the year. Okay, and you will send a letter to the municipalities letting them know. Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Also remind them that they were to give us some cost estimates. Okay. All right, so then you're sitting tight because the next item is also from Protective Services. It's the amended firearm policy 33/2006. Could I have a motion? Councillor Long?
That council approves amended firearm policy 01/216 as presented.
Discussion. Councillor Tanaka?
Regarding the carry of the firearms, you guys just use pistols? You guys have nothing?
Shotgun.
Pardon me?
A shotgun?
You have a shotgun. Okay, is that in the vehicle at all times?
When we're on duty, it's only for putting animals down. That's the only use we can use it for.
And when it's not, it's stored here?
Yeah, we have a gun locker in our
Okay. Okay.
office.
Okay, that were my only questions.
Councillor Long?
Nope, I'm good.
Councillor Panassa?
Yeah, I had a few questions. How often have we used a gun?
I've had it once since I've had the authority to carry it. That was for a moose in somebody's
Shotgun
backyard.
for a moose? Okay.
Well, we didn't kill it. It just shot rubber bullets at it to get it out of the town.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just wondering about if we ever use that and all of the costs associated with it, if it's worthwhile. I know that, we have a rifle and then you gotta do all of the certifications and everything else. Is it something that's worthwhile having?
I believe it's officer safety. If we don't have it and we need it, we're gonna wish we had it. But
You see using this for, like, if a dog is coming at you?
for dangerous dogs, yeah, which we have frequently encountered. So, not that we've used the gun, it's just that if we ever had to, and we, yeah.
Okay.
So this policy, do you have another?
Yeah, I just had another comment, and it's regarding the motion that was written here. Being that this is a policy, I think this would be just first reading of this policy, or is that just bylaws that need the bylaws? Okay, just wanted.
So is this a very major rewrite of the previous policy?
No, we're just changing the wording from special constable to peace officer.
And so if we only have the one firearm, this is not allowing any other firearms, is it? It's just for the rifle, or for the shotgun?
That's it.
Yeah. How do you get authority to carry a different type of firearm? Or can you?
We can't.
Can't, okay.
Until the Solicitor General
Changes it.
changes their mind,
Okay,
yeah.
so this is for the shotgun, and it is basically the same as the previous
Yes. Yeah.
policy. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, it just got me thinking, we were talking before, Alan, about the peace officer in Lamont County that was looking to carry a firearm. Have you heard anything more about that?
Nothing to date. The government's still saying that they're waiting for the court case to be finalized before they do a public inquiry.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion for firearm policy 01-2016 as presented. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, third item from Protective Services. Audio video recording devices carried by peace officers. Could I have a motion? Councillor Zanaga?
I make a motion that council approves the audio-video policy for peace officers as presented.
So is this a new policy?
Yes, it is, yep.
Okay. Questions? Councillor Panasic?
Have we had recording devices in the past, or are we just looking at getting them? What's the impetus of adding this in?
It's a requirement from the Solicitor General now, based on that fact that we are now carrying them. They want policy stating that the usage of it, when we should be recording, when we shouldn't be, and the storage of any audio or any video recordings for, it says for 5 years or 3 years, whatever it may be. So that's, they're asking us for the policy.
Okay, and did they supply a template or anything? Like, is there anything else that we should be looking at with this, or I was just wondering, if this is gonna cover everything that we need to address in the policy?
Yeah, it's pretty much whatever we use it for is covered, and how we use it, when we use it, where we use it. It's for our safety also, as far as complaints and stuff like that.
I'm curious too, have we had to use our video in the past? Have we ever used it for anything?
I've used it for our in-car video, for file like for speeding or for other files. So yeah, it's been used before. This also incorporates a body cam. We can carry body cameras now. This is what they look like. Basically, this is an audio recorder. So when we stop a vehicle and our lights are activated, this is activated. So it has our conversation with whoever we stop.
What about the body cam? Is it also,
We can activate that.
so that sits on your shoulder, the
Yeah.
body cam?
Yeah.
You activate that yourself? Not necessarily at every stop, or?
Well, it's at our if we feel it's necessary at the time.
I'm just saying, does it, in the procedure here, does it say you activate it at a service request? The audio shall be activated whenever the officer is making any citizen contact, so that's automatically because it's hooked to your lights, so that's automatic.
That's automatic.
So the body cam, how do you that's not automatic?
No, we'd have to do it manually, just press a button. But that would be more for, say we're doing an investigation for an unsightly. We go to somebody's house or yard.
Okay, so then you pan the premises.
Or a dog at large. We're trying to catch a dog.
Yeah. Okay, so my question is, did we write this or did you use a template? Basically what Councillor Panasic said.
I got a template. I got a template from another municipality.
Ah, okay. And
So-
then, because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, Supervisor in Enforcement Services, who is that?
Well, it's a senior. Well, yeah, senior or.
I'm thinking to myself, I think it needs a little bit more work because the Supervisor of Enforcement Services is the systems manager. Well, who's the systems manager? It doesn't tell us who that is.
Okay, well that systems manager would be the senior officer that's in control of the recordings, how how to,
Okay.
save them onto the computer, and who has access, and who,
But I don't see the definitions of who that is, so if somebody was reading this who didn't know, they wouldn't know.
you need a definition page?
Well, I need to know if the systems manager is the senior patrol officer,
Okay,
or is it the CAO? Like, he could be a systems manager, I don't know.
okay.
And so, is your supervisor, so the supervisor is the senior patrol officer? According to this
According to
procedure.
this, yeah.
Okay. So, the supervisor officer of each shift, that would be, I think it needs a little bit more work, because
Make it applicable to us.
to customize it a bit more for us. Because we're saying here the supervising officer of each shift is responsible as needed responsible for the equipment as needed to, and he reports it to the supervisor of Enforcement Services Department. So you're reporting it to yourself.
Okay, yeah.
All right, you understand what I'm saying?
Understandable, yeah.
And I only had one other comment, and I'm not sure where this is coming from, but patrol media shall not be used to randomly spot check officers' performance. Why wouldn't you do that? I mean, I don't understand why you would specifically say you couldn't do it when you have this technology that if you wanted to spot check and say, well, what's happening? Where is this person or whatever, you would go on your video or whatever and spot check the performance.
I think that's how it works though.
No,
It's
yeah.
not live.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I'll have to clarify that.
Okay, all right. Because your field training officer, whoever that is, can use it to spot check your probationary community peace officer. So if you customize it a bit more, you bring it down to our level of the town.
Okay.
Is there anything else? So, okay. Okay, we have a motion to accept as, yeah.
I mean, we get that all the time, right, when we have organizations that, like Mackenzie or whomever, that create a bylaw for us. Sometimes they'll use a template, and I've seen where other towns are still left, Greenview MD, for example, still left in our bylaw, and they're making reference to Greenview. So, yeah, if we can tailor it to our needs specifically, and then get rid of some of the redundant statements or positions and those types of things, then it'll be perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good. So, we're going to vote on this, and it's as presented. So, all in favor as presented? Opposed? Okay. So, do we want a motion to bring it back?
I think they do that automatically, right?
I would think so. Okay, good. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
When you bring it back, can you get me some attached samples when they talk about daily activity log? Right here. They're going to use a daily activity log. If you would have sample attached to the policy, so we know what it's going to look like. Okay, next item is, nothing from Public Works this time. So we're moving to the minutes of the regular council meeting. Councillor Long?
That council approve the minutes from the December 15, 2015 regular meeting of council as presented.
And are there any errors or omissions, other than the spelling mistake on page 27? But I wouldn't, I'd still say as presented. Do you see number 747/15 in the middle of the page? and we talk about the development of peer board.
I
Okay,
see
you
it.
got that, good. Okay, other than that, any other? So all in favor of accepting as presented? It's carried. Next item is the operating budget, planning services. And our good treasurer is stepping forward.
I'll use this. Okay, basically the first item I have before council, Madam Mayor, is in regards to the operating budget. There's some items in there that we have been looking at. We did get a call though from the Mackenzie Municipal Services Agency. There are 3 projects currently being looked at for the town of High Prairie in 2016. And I've broken them down in there. They include review of our municipal development plan, potential intermunicipal development plan with the county, and a GIS internet web service that the MSA is looking at putting together. They've actually got it started now. The 2 programs for sure, the $45,000 for the GIS and the $55,000 for the municipal development plan, $100,000. Membership with the MMSA for 2016. The cost is $92,571. That would include any of these 3 projects in that. So we would not have to pay for these services if we were a member. So I just bring it forward for council if we want to look at joining as a member of the MMSA starting in 2016 for the cost that provided. They did break down how the cost is derived. I think they made the presentation here once before. That's a combination of both our population of the municipalities that are members and the assessment. And then it's scaled out from that to come up with the total cost that's assigned to each of the members. So I'm just looking for something here, if council wants us to go ahead and do this at this time. Since the beginning of the year, because once they get in there and go working the project, should they finish off one of the projects beforehand, if we haven't joined them at that time, we will get the bill. So it's just a matter of trying to save that money.
Okay, questions? Councillor Panasic.
Herman, when I was looking at this, for the 2016, I don't recall, we approved money for the development in 2015.
Yeah.
And
that project began in 2015. It's not completed yet, and they don't do the billing for it until it's completed, so it'd be billed in 2016.
Okay, so
we'd be bringing that money forward into the budget from last year. It would not be spent in 2015, so we need required in 2016, unless we remember. If we're a member, they'll forego that invoice.
Right, okay, yeah, I get that. So basically what we're saying is the money that we had budgeted for last year could be used,
it'll be dragged forward into 2016 to cover the
and
cost, either
okay.
of the cost of the project or as a partial cost for the membership.
Okay, I got it. And I don't remember the GIS web mapping project being approved by council.
I don't think it has yet, but I think, was it presented to council before I got here, or have they made any presentation?
I don't remember seeing it, but I might have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have seen it in work when I was in the town of Oyen. We had actually our agency down there was quite large, and they are a little more advanced with their GIS system, whereas it's actually it's an app for a telephone even, where anybody can go on to the GIS. It's a map for everything that's in the area. Your businesses are listed. You do list things such as assessment values. You can go into an area, go on a property, and certain information from the assessments are brought up and available to anybody who wants to go look. Other areas where it was being used, down there, they haven't got to that point here yet, had it used with an auto dial feature where you could select on the GIS map a block of houses. Say if you're going to shut the water off, water service to that area. The information would be in the system for all the residents with the phone numbers. You could do an auto dial where it would phone everybody saying that the water system will be shut down from, say, 8 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon due to services. And would automatically dial that out, so it's a good system. You may want to get MMSA up here, was it Hevan or?
Yeah,
Hevan would be willing to come up and make a presentation to council.
Yeah, I guess I'm just surprised,
Yeah.
like you had made mention that they're already working on it, and
GIS as for everybody, not necessarily for us.
Oh, okay, because I'm
But-
going, I'm not familiar with that one.
They had
and I think there's
discussed
a-
with somebody here regarding that.
Oh,
And then also they had discussed supposedly regarding the intermunicipal development, working with the county, potential.
Yes, that one was discussed. I think we were looking at the West End industrial subdivision.
But I don't think those were in any of our capital lists for 2016 either. So this is kind of, for me, this is putting the cart before the horse. We haven't even decided these are projects we want to work on. That's my concern.
I just wanted to bring it before council, because if we don't do anything with it quick enough, and we do get the one project done, we'll get a bill for it. And then if council does decide, we'll end up paying for more of it. So. And then besides these 3 items, then it also gives us our development services, our assistance, so they become an agent, so we can talk to them if we have a issue dealing with development. For the development officer, they also will staff the development applications and process them through.
As
for us.
part of the.
As part of our membership.
Okay.
So a lot of our development issues would be then handled outside and take away some of the, what's the word I used to use down there?
Say subdivisions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
If you did a subdivision,
an application.
they would handle it all. They would do all the notices.
The mapping, even if you're looking at rezoning a property and you're doing a bylaw, usually if you're gonna rezone a property, you're required to do a map for the bylaw to pinpoint. They do actually write the bylaw for you and include the maps and everything.
okay. The question I had was 45,000 per year for GIS services, is that?
That's the going fee, because what basically has to happen is they have to, they do it themselves, but then they also farm it out to certain companies.
But
especially-
every year you have to pay that?
Yeah.
Well, don't you ever?
Now, after the first couple of years, the cost could go down. I can't speak for them. You may need to have Ann here to make that presentation and ask them about that.
Oh, okay. Because
And,
I'm thinking, well,
Yeah,
if it's got, it can't be
yeah.
every
If council
year.
doesn't want to make any decision on that now, they would be available to come up here potentially on the 26th, which would still get us some time before our budget. It's too far deep into it. It would probably be, I suspect, at least probably half-hour presentation. I'm not sure we did it last time on that.
What's our agenda look like for the 26th?
PRCMP over here, because the renovation they do, is they haven't, they didn't show what the one on the 15th, they asked them to come to that one. And I think that was what the one, is that now?
As of now. You were doing, you were talking about doing a budget, another budget meeting.
Yeah, for next Tuesday, potentially if council so agrees. This is today, Brian?
Let's see if we can get them to come to the budget rather than a council meeting.
I can talk to Savannah or tomorrow and see if that's available. Yeah. If we do schedule it, that's not on the schedule yet for council, so.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's see what's coming up with council meetings
Mhm.
or,
And when we set that schedule, if we do include that at that
yeah,
time, we can
and
say,
we'll
put that in
include
there.
it in there.
We'll probably have to make a decision.
Okay.
Okay.
Because actually, I was in agreement with Eunice Mackenzie as a development agent and
Mhm.
so. Okay, do we have a motion? What else were you gonna talk about on this? That was it?
That was basically it. So we could decide, just accept it for information and request the administration to have them come back to make a presentation. at a
So I'll
future
make
meeting.
that motion to, unless anybody else has any questions, to accept the information from the Mackenzie, the treasurer's presentation for information on the Mackenzie Municipal Services Agency membership for information, and to direct administration to request MMSA attend an upcoming council meeting for presentation,
Okay.
membership presentation.
Council meeting or workshop?
Yep.
I would, I'm just thinking, okay, finish your motion. And
That was it.
Oh,
That was
okay.
it.
I'm just sitting there thinking, we should decide on what projects we want to approve and go ahead in for 2016 before we decide whether we want a membership, because it's feasible that we might decide not to do a project and then we got a membership that we're not going to take full advantage of, if
Well,
that makes sense.
I think if he comes to our meeting, he can tell us, okay, what kind of projects
Yeah.
do you do?
Oh, no, he would, and I get that, but we as a council need to decide with all of our other capital expenses and costs, whether or not we can put in some of these additional ones that haven't even been on the list so far.
If I can correct, they aren't necessarily all capital projects. Some of these are actually going to be O&M projects, so there's no capital item available at the end, so it's not a capital item, it would be part of your maintenance budget, O&M budget.
Okay, so,
But does the maintenance budget have the money in it?
yeah. Well, and that's a good point, yeah. So if it's not a capital project, then okay, then it becomes a maintenance issue. Yeah.
I think once when council sees his presentation, because he gave Herman and myself a brief outline of what he was doing in other municipalities, and it's very impressive to us. So once when you see that, then council can make their own decisions, but it should be continued on with.
Yeah, project by project,
Project, yeah.
or else go to a membership. But I think that, I agree, I think we need to know what kind of services can we outsource that would benefit the town, that we don't have the capacity here.
Yeah, and I'll get them to present that all at that meeting or workshop.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing is too, we obviously want to know, well, what's the advantage? Because, you know, GIS, can we get by without it, or is this definitely something that has to be moved on into, because that's where everybody's headed, is GIS.
I think it is the way to the future, but I think probably the most important thing that would be giving us the development people, the subdivision help, and you know, rezoning and that type of thing to keep control over that. Without the full-time development officer here, having that agency available is almost invaluable, I think, to the administration.
Yeah, I would agree. Councillor Long.
And the GIS itself, we could have the app available right on our website, so that if somebody was coming in from out of town looking at the website, they could see the app for the information on the GIS.
It's best to let him explain that to you and go through it with you. He can make a demonstration. You know, an example, we had somebody today wanting to look at about the information regarding certain property in town, what the zoning was for it, and then also regarding how that affects development permits or anything else that may be required. That type of thing, information would be on the app, because if you could bring the map up, then you can click on there, you can find out what the zoning is on it, what the dimensions of the lot are. All the information is readily available for a developer coming from outside of town.
Exactly.
Without having to go talk to a landowner, a real estate agent, or whatever.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Do you want to read that back to see if you got it?
I don't have it all.
What part do you have?
I said accept the treasurer's information on Mackenzie Municipal Service Agency. Is it just for information after that?
For information.
And
Okay.
request that Mackenzie Regional Planning be invited to an upcoming workshop or council meeting.
Coming.
Okay, so between the two of you, yes.
Yep.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. Motion is carried, and the next item is application for grant, the High Prairie and District Golf.
Yeah, better than mine.
So, this is,
I can get a new one.
the motion, please. Councillor Tanaka.
The council received the request for financial support donation for $5,000 from the High Prairie District Golf Club for information.
Okay. Questions? Questions? Do you want to elucidate on your rationale on that?
My rationale is this is a grant application. We had this discussion prior to. They were supposed to be in by the end of October.
Okay.
When we don't have a quarterly.
Right.
Plus, I thought that the last meeting that we had with them, that we were looking at possibly putting something in the budget to help them.
Okay.
Was my recollection.
Councillor Long?
No, I tend to agree with Councillor Tanaka on this, just from a time perspective. Do they need the funding? Do they need the help? Probably yes, absolutely. But we have a process in place. If we open it up to one, then we have to open it up to others, and then the floodgate opens up, and we don't have the money, and times are tough for everybody.
Oh, Councillor Panasic, do you have any comments before I speak?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I'm looking at page 38, and number 2 item says that the money is going to go towards the deck that needs replacing. That's our building. Wouldn't we be wanting to make sure that the deck doesn't fall off? It's so although it's not a grant, they're asking it in a grant format. I believe that this should be a maintenance issue for one of our buildings. Councillor Tanaka.
But if it's a maintenance issue for part of our buildings, then it should be included in the budget as preventative maintenance like we do for the museum, the library, the rec board, the old age center.
Exactly.
As opposed to being a grant application.
So, Mr. Treasurer.
Just one quick point on that. Looking at the agreement we have with the golf club, they have use of that building from the town, but they have within that agreement responsibility to maintain the building at their cost. So it's not the town's responsibility to maintain the building, it is the golf club's. So if they were looking for assistance with it, it would be in the form of a grant. It depends on what's in the wording on the agreement, but I think Brian's looked at the agreement also, and they have sole responsibility for maintenance on that building.
Okay. So I understand now why it's a grant. I still say, after we ask them to come here, ask them, assured them that we would help them in any way possible. We want to continue to maintain the building. Now they're asking and saying, okay, you want to help us? We need $5,000 to help with the deck. Councillor Panasic, are you ready to weigh in yet?
Yeah, no, I'm sort of mixed thoughts on it because I know that they need the financial help. I know that every organization in our community needs the financial help on a lot of these things. I personally, I don't know if we can do both in terms of their other requests to help with the curb stop. I really, we'll make a motion after this one addressing that one, but that's where I think we could save them. It'll be probably a $4,000 or $5,000 touch to do that type of a repair. So I do kind of struggle with the cash donation or cash grant more than some services. So I'm firmly on the fence. How's that?
And my other comment would be the county has already allocated enough money, they thought, for the deck. And they were getting some grant money from the province for the deck. So I'm wondering what this $5,000 is really going to be used for the deck, because we seem to have a lot of funding bodies that are working on this deck only. So.
The application does say the deck and other projects. So, I mean, they've got a ton of projects and a ton of needs for it, from new mowers to repairing water pumps to 1,000 things. I know they can really use the money. I have no question about that.
Councillor Long.
First time. Directed towards Mr. Walker. So, if we didn't have $5,000 to give them, but they needed a loader and a truck to move the old deck to the landfill or to a burn pile somewhere, could we provide that service?
That would be council's discretion, yes, but we could. Absolutely.
So you have the ability to do it.
Yes.
We wouldn't be putting any undue strain on your resources.
Not at this time. We got no snow, so there's lots of time.
We could be golfing before April. Thank you.
Mr. Martinson.
They could have probably put that within their contract for whoever's replacing the deck. Would be his responsibility, the contractors, to take it down, dispose of it, clean the site. That's usually what they do, but I don't know. I haven't seen their contract either. So.
This one's tough, I agree. It's, now that you've noticed that that clause is in there, that they are responsible for the maintenance and upkeep. And you know that what our previous councillor Emter was basically letting us know was that they feel an ownership to that building, and they really are looking after it as best as they can. So I don't know how, although it's our building and we should be helping them to achieve that end, which we will be doing with the curb stop. I'm pretty sure everybody's in agreement on that. But what is the recommendation of treasurer?
Council seen what we had in the budget still, the council has available for it through the remainder of 2016, so there is funds available there. But this is a grant type of an application, so it would be something for council. To clarify, I did speak with the two people that were here on their way out and suggested they also prepare an application for a grant, because what they're basically looking for is a grant from council for that provincials minor hockey tournament. So just to cover ourselves on that. We've had this discussion before about sponsorship versus grants versus just being nice people, but it's basically where council will be granting money to them, so it's best that we cover ourselves and we follow our own policies on that. As far as the deadlines, we've only got the one deadline in our current policy, but we do have funding available in 2016 still, so we could take a look at it at the budget meeting when we do decide to have that date. See if that fits into what council's wishes are, and then maybe bring it back at the 26th meeting, should we have this budget meeting in between now and the 26th.
Did you understand what he said? I missed it.
Sorry. Basically, council has got a budget for grants.
Okay.
There's money available within that grant money for 2016 still that hasn't been allocated out or promised to anybody. So the discussion may be when they take a look at the budget and that portion of their council's budget at the budget meeting. They may want to then direct administration to bring it back, this subject back on the 26th for a final decision, once council's had a chance to look at their budget. Or knowing that there's money available, go ahead and do that now.
Councillor Long.
And I think this is another opportunity for us to look at having quarterly submissions for grants versus a one-shot deal. There it is, take it or leave it. So something we should put on or look at putting on an agenda is rewriting that up and changing the policy or the bylaw to reflect that to a quarterly. But right now, as it sits, the way it's written,
It's a grant.
it's a grant. And so we have a policy, as our treasurer has stated, and we have to make sure that we follow those procedures and bylaws.
Okay, Councillor Panasic,
I was just gonna say, this would be a perfect, we need to clarify all of this issues around grants and sponsorships and our policies. It's not as clean as it should be. And we have our policy committee that hasn't met yet. This could be one of their first ones to, to tackle, which would be a good one to clarify that.
Okay, so we have a motion to receive for information. Any other comments? Don't, all in favor? Okay, that's passed. Councillor Panasic?
I'd like to make a motion that the council directs administration to assist the golf club in replacing their curb stop out at the golf course,
At no charge?
at no charge.
Is that enough of a?
I would probably add in there, just to clarify, within existing resources and manpower, so that we're not incurring any other costs for overtime, or
Okay.
if we had to go out and our vehicle broke down, if we had to go rent something for them, we would incur that cost.
Mr. Whatever.
Not coming up there.
We can't hear you over there.
I would think that typically one of the curb stops when we do in town, we can do it with our resources for under $1,000. It wouldn't be, if we were charging them for that, of course, we'd be charging our rates, but with our manpower and the machines, we could probably do it for under $1,000.
Okay,
But that'd be within the existing budget.
Yeah.
all right then. All in favor? That's carried. Do we want a motion, or do we have to direct administration to develop a policy on quarterly grants, or how do you want to work that?
We have a group and they need to get started and that could be the first one.
Do we have a group?
Well,
Who's on it?
myself.
I believe it's Michael and myself, we were just waiting for terms of reference.
Oh. Can they have a meeting without the terms of reference?
Not supposed to.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess the terms of reference.
I think I got them in my office, I just gotta bring them all down for one big meeting.
Oh,
26th when we do meeting.
how many policies are there? How many terms of reference?
There's probably 3 or 4 there.
Well, then we should review those ahead of time. We should make a real effort to review them ahead of time so that they aren't a lot of discussion, clarification.
I'll get Ken to scan them and you can send them all to you.
Right. And then
I'll
the
send them to
discussion will be
council.
pointed as to, let's get this. Okay, sounds good.
I think there was one actually, terms of reference for the airport committee, but through the county, I used to get my kids and then there's another, where's like that, as a town, and then that's one.
Okay, all right, that sounds good then. Okay, any other, nope, nothing else. Okay, and the next one is, again, the treasurer, and we're looking at the financial reports.
Thank you, Worship. Basically, these are the reports as of the end of November 2015. There was a bit of a typo with the actual written reports, but they are for 2015. Basically, we're still looking to,
Oh, okay.
even with the extra costs that we incurred in 2015 regarding personnel situations, we're still thinking we're going to be ahead of the budget. Not a great deal as we have in past years, but we think we're still going to be outperforming the budget. We will, as I mentioned in there, probably before we go to print the final statements for 2015, and probably at the next meeting when I present the financial statements as they look as to be right now. Some recommendations for council to maybe make some adjustments, transfers to reserves or whatever before the actual financial statements are done, so that we can bring the surplus or down to a minimal level. We've made a commitment to what to do with that money prior to the statements.
Okay.
It's usually something I've tried to do in the past in the municipality. But as it looks right now, overall the operation is looking good. No real areas of concern other than the items that have been addressed to council before.
had a motion before we started?
Yep.
on?
So could we get a motion? Counselor Panasic?
I make a motion, that council receive for information the revenue and expense by department managers report for the year to date ending November 30th as presented.
Thank you, and I'm sorry for jumping out of the gate a little quick. The other thing we'll have at the meeting in the 26th would be the capital projects. I've just today finalized those off, and it's looking fairly good there. We've had some good results in some of our projects, including these microphones. But we should hopefully have that wrapped up for the 26th. Like I said, have a good understanding where we're at with council at that time.
Okay, questions on this? Counselor Panasic?
The one thing I had is, I was wondering about some of these departments where we've excluded amortization. I would like to see the amortization, especially for things like the water department, those departments where we're trying to get cost recovery on our utilities. I'd like to know whether or not they are being cost recovery, and I can't tell because the amortization isn't in there.
The amortization is provided in the report, and you'll find that on page 74, starting page 74, so by department. But this is based on the format of the restatements that council had asked me to present. So.
No, we used to have two formats, one with amortization and one without.
And I have that ability, but it's just, we're trying to save a tree.
No,
So if you want to see
don't
the
save a
report,
tree.
the other format.
Because he's right, on
Yeah.
some of those departments, you want to see the amortization automatically added in. So, and I can understand what he's
Yeah.
saying, but on some of the departments, I'm not so worried about the amortization. I'm looking at bylaw enforcement, for example. The amortization is very small, but look at the revenue versus the expenditures, and this is how, how much are we subsidizing some of these departments?
Okay, we can present both formats, and we can maybe have a little further discussion when we have our budget meeting, because I've got some reports there to that, and maybe we can come up with a hybrid for the future going forward to, take a review our utilities departments separately from this.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I just had a question, and it might even be addressed for you on the rec board. I noticed that we're already over in our budget on the rec board. And
What
so,
page?
Page 57. The budget was 568,000, and we're already at 604,000.
And I also made that notice of the difference, and I was going to ask the treasurer, how could that possibly be? Because you cut the checks.
No, I didn't. Mr. Zettel did. No, there was some checks cut.
This is the 37,000 that was in dispute. all
That's
the
correct.
time. And
But
then
the
they-
amount that they got for their budget out of their operating budget was as per approved by council.
Right.
So that other $37,000, this was the amount that was in
Was
dispute.
from 2014.
Yes,
It was a carryover.
that's correct.
Okay. Any other questions, Councillor Panasic? Any other notes you'd make?
Yeah, I'm just looking through all my pages here. When I was looking at, the ability to be cost recovery on some of our projects, and I'm looking at the Moose Tooth building, it's, it's costing us right now, it looks like $37,000 to have that building and the
What page?
library in there.
Page?
Page 69.
Okay,
So the difference between the income and the operating is about 37,000, and I know that's likely largely due to the fact that we rent out, or we give the library free rent in that. But I'm wondering if that's the right place to be. What would it cost for the town to rent some land or some property for them to be in? Right, like, can we do it for less than $37,000 and have less headaches? I don't know what the rental rates are.
well, Councillor Long?
Are you suggesting that we move the library?
Or we sell the building and get rid of some, because I know it causes us some grief to maintain it and everything else, and just get some rental where we're a tenant in the library if we sold the Moose Tooth. If it was a big price difference, I don't know how much it would cost to get the bottom floor, but it's just another thought, right? It's another way to look at it if it's costing us that much to have them in that space.
Well, the other thought is too, and we've kind of bandied this around, but we don't know how serious we are about it, is to request the library to put a rental amount into their budget. And that rental amount is going to be paid by the budget, but by the library, to the town. We have to refund half of it in our grant, but the MD refunds half. So in essence, we recover half of the cost of them being in the library.
Can I add a couple other points there also?
Yes.
Councilor Panasic mentioned the $37,000. That does not include, in this case, the amortization also, so that's not the full cost out of that building. So there's that. The other thing is, you know, we do have the tenants that are upstairs, and I'm not sure when the last time the rates there had been adjusted. I think there's quite a bit of a difference between this rent per square footage versus that, especially with we're updating some repairs and that over there. We may want to take a look at those leases as they come up and decide what the rate we should be charging over there. No, not forgetting also the fact that we do have the library down below as a free tenant providing municipal services, but.
Well, and there is also the fact that as landlords, most property managers charge triple net. And I don't think that we even got into that discussion when we were figuring out how much to charge.
As I said, I'm not sure when the last time the discussion was regarding that place over there, because those rates have been in 7, 8 years. I think that those are the rates, the same rates when I was here in 2008, so there hasn't been any changes to those rates since then.
Well, after the renovations and after the costs and everything, I think it is something to actually sit down and calculate how much the building costs, and then figure out how we're going to apportion the operating cost, including amortization and the whole bit. Mm-hmm. And if we have to really, I mean, once we get those figures of expenditures, then I think it's going to be pretty, not easy, but it will be self-evident how much something is going to have to pay. Everybody that's in that building is going to have to contribute more. Otherwise, it's the ratepayers of the town that are picking it all up.
And they'd be subsidizing, and at the same time, we've got other people in town that are renting real estate out at probably a higher rate than what we're charging right now. So, is there, are we in competition with somebody that's already in town trying to do the same thing?
Yeah. Okay, so that's.
So that was my point.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, don't close it up yet. I have some. Okay, my questions. 2014, when I look at the very last page, which is surplus, page 77. 2014 surplus actual on the operating was $2.8 million. Isn't that a little bit high for a surplus?
It's way high, and the reason being, and as I finally started really figuring out what happened here, is the previous treasurer was let go prior to the actual financial statements coming out, so there were some year-end adjustments that were required that the auditors left here with the town to have done, and I just found out that they were never done. So there are some adjustments that have to happen, so the 2014 actual numbers will be adjusted and hopefully corrected prior to the next set of statements coming out. We just found this out this week.
How much are they going to drop? And the reason I'm concerned, and I'm the rest of the council, it's because if you have 2.8 million surplus in 2014, your taxes are only 3.2 million. You've almost got a whole year of tax money there.
Yeah.
Which kind of means you've got too much tax.
That number at the bottom there
Okay.
isn't correct.
So it's gonna drop.
They will drop, yes.
All right. So, but when I look at these to 2015 year to date, that is only $500,000 less than what the surplus was in 2014. So how much is that going to drop? Is it? Page 77.
Yeah, I would go to page 72 if I was council to look at the number without amortization.
Yeah. Page 72. Okay, so explain to me why I would look at it without amortization, because you're what? What are you doing with this amortization? Are you adding it in, or? It's a book entry.
I'm still trying to figure out the right way to explain this. There's two sets of equity numbers that the municipalities deal with. One is the operating surplus, which does not include amortization. So that's your actual equity, and then there's actual equity in your capital assets. The amortization affects your equity in assets, not in the actual cash position of the municipality. So, and this is where we say that, when you're trying to get to a balanced budget, you want to be balanced at that point, prior to the, where the cash surplus is at, the equity, cash equity, or
I see. So you're taking the amount of your assets that you've got, and you're subtracting the debt that is against those assets.
you're subtracting the valuation of the asset for the age.
Valuation of the asset,
Okay,
yes.
not the.
And we have very low debt, according to those financial graphs that were sent around. We have one of the lowest, well, the highest assets and the lowest debt that's associated with those assets. That's according to those graphs. We're in a very good position that way. So put the two together and you end up with a 2.8 million surplus. Okay. But if you look at page 72, it's not as rosy as you
It's
think.
not, no.
Okay.
Our biggest asset, I hate to say it, our best asset is our assets itself. We are well positioned. We've got some newer, highly expensive assets on. We've got the skating pad, we've got the pool that was done all within the last 10 years. So they're still at the maximum amount of life left. We still do have those debentures to cover those as well.
Okay.
Those debentures, I think, though, are covered under a separate, they're not recovered through taxes for the municipal portion. Taxes are a separate assessment for those. on
So
the
when somebody
tax bills.
asks me $2.8 million, I refer them, to page 72 that says it's only a $245,000 surplus. Page 72. I think that's what it said.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only a $245,000 surplus.
Actually, it's page 73.
Which
The surplus on 72 is for the gas department.
Right.
Oh, right,
So
73,
1.7.
1.7, which is still a third of our taxes.
not too shabby.
But then we have some capital.
And we have, if you're talking about the revenues also, we've got the gas, the natural gas revenues. Those ones that are
Okay.
revenue generating.
Page 53,
Okay.
which is planning and development, contracted services. In 2015, we spent $50,000. Was that Mackenzie Services? Okay.
That was the land use bylaw.
The land use bylaw, okay?
Some of the stuff that was
All right. And I think actually I was kind of pleased with the rest of it. The water, the sewer, the gas is all helping us bring our taxes down. And that was it. Yes.
Thank
Good
you.
report. Anything else? No. We have a motion to accept for information. All in favor? It's carried.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. I hope council realizes that when we get two new councillors on here, We're gonna look so intelligent.
Our meetings are gonna be so much longer.
Your microphones have made a huge difference sitting back here.
Have they?
That's good.
Yes.
That's good.
Ah, well, we might get more people coming because now they can hear us. I'll have to quit making these asides.
My mother-in-law will be happy when she watches it on the computer. Great,
All right, break.
great.
10-minute break.
10-minute
Is that, are you okay with